So recently, a creative director on another big game franchise has stepped forward and has actually called out Cyberpunk 2077 and No Man's Sky for their bad practices, especially when it comes to marketing a game under false promises. You can see that post right here. But today, we have a follow-up from this creative director. He is actually apologizing for those statements. We're going to be talking about, should he really have backpedaled, or was he right on the money with his initial rant? So we're going to talk about that right now. Hey everyone, what's happening? Overworld Games here. Hope you're doing good, and let's dive into the latest happenings around Cyberpunk 2077. Let's talk about this. So this comes from Screen Rant. You can see the headline right here. Cyberpunk 2077, No Man's Sky dev lies called out by Ori developer. Moon Studios founder and Ori series director Thomas Muller took to Reset Era to rant about big games that are sold on ambitious yet false promises. So let's scroll down here. This is just a recap of what's going on with Cyberpunk 2077, in that the launch was a disaster. Now, this is where it gets interesting. It says, in the aftermath, Thomas Muller weighed in on the matter on Reset Era and expressed his frustration with Cyberpunk 2077, saying the developer's promises were so high they stopped short of outright saying that this thing would cure cancer. He went on to take No Man's Sky to task as well, which has since improved. He says this: back in 2014, I remember some journalists from some big publication telling us that Ori almost got the cover article of some magazine I read frequently, but ultimately they had to pick No Man's Sky because it was the bigger game. I kind of agreed back then, thinking to myself, okay, I get it. They have to promote the bigger game. They obviously have to go for the clicks. Sucks, but that's how the game is played. But then I really felt bamboozled once No Man's Sky came out and it became clear that all this hype was really just built on lies, and the honest guy who just showed his actual product really got kicked in the balls because the lying guy was able to make up some tall tales that held absolutely no substance. What he is saying right here is absolutely true, so I'm curious about his apology once we get into it in just a moment. Now let's keep on reading through this article right here. It's interesting to see that a take from a creative director like this. Muller also noted that the excuse made up by fans or journalists are infuriating and don't help the issue. And yet, gamers and journalists don't really seem to mind all that much. Yeah, the backlash is coming, but usually you see a ton of people then arguing that they like the game that came out of it anyway. That is so not the point. It doesn't matter if the snake oil, actually tastes fine. Don't sell me on features that don't exist. Don't paint a picture that you'll not be able to deliver. Just don't effing lie to me. You're effing over gamers, you're effing over journalists. That should know better, so shame on you, and you're effing over other developers. Wow, he got really passionate about his comments for sure. You can almost feel the anger in his rant here, and he's almost like speaking on the behalf of people that were totally lied to with a lot of these games, and they had to work through, refunds, especially in the case of Cyberpunk 2077. Anyone stuck on the base PS4 and Xbox One editions, and even people that are on a smooth running PC version of Cyberpunk 2077 agree that there's tons and tons of cut content. But yeah, let's go to his apology. He has a follow-up post recently posted only hours ago, so let's take a look at what he says here. He says, yep, I screwed up yesterday. Here's my thoughts. But did he really screw up? Let's take a look. He says, hey everyone, by now a lot of you will have probably read my posting on Restora yesterday. I have a bit of a chip on my shoulder and talked about the downsides of the current hype culture and how developers making false claims about their products hurts not only the consumers, but developers as well. At least that was the intention behind it all. Now, a day later, I've read the responses and I realized I wasn't thoughtful in the way I presented my thoughts, nor did I choose the right tone or platform for it. After I made this thread, we had a pretty long conversation internally about all of this, and I definitely didn't represent Moon Studios the way I should have. I'm a game developer. I love what I'm doing, and I enjoy nothing more than to make games that surprise people, that put a smile on their faces, or that might even make people cry. But I'm also a passionate gamer myself. I always enjoyed sharing my love for games on public forums and continued to be very outspoken even after Moon Studios and the Ori series became known entities in the games industry. I always really liked the idea of gamers and developers alike having an open discourse about games so that we could all figure out together how to improve the art form. Yesterday, I used an overly aggressive tone that wasn't really suited for someone in my position. My intention was definitely not to hurt anybody, but to offer up a discussion starter on current issues the industry is facing. Yeah, when he got to the F-bombs, I think, he was showing that he was super passionate. I think a lot of us just want to scream and give F-bombs about certain situations, especially with games that don't deliver and fail big time in their delivery. In other words, it proves that a lot of these developers, publishers can get away with lying, market something, get tons and tons of pre-orders initially, and then screw over everyone after they have banked the money. So, I think overall he was right about his statements for sure. Of course, Cyberpunk 2077 isn't perfect, and recently a lot of you guys have also noted that, hey, the game probably should have had an early access tag to warn people that it was going to be buggy, and that's one way they should have approached Cyberpunk 2077 if they were going to be releasing it in the state that it was released in, or they better delay it a whole year or 2 years or whatever it takes to make the game live up to what they were showing in marketing. So that's another take there. All right, now he says this: we all share a common love for this art form, and we should always remember remain respectful with each other, and I wasn't yesterday, and for that I am really sorry, especially to those that I mentioned by name. I promise that I'll learn from this mistake and wish no hard feelings towards anybody. Thank you all for lending me your ear, Thomas Mahler. So yeah, honestly, I think he has relationships in the gaming industry, and this apology is more for them, and he's revealed his true feelings. That's my take on the whole situation. Let me know what you make of it. Do you agree with his apology? Do you think he should have backpedaled? Actually, we can go under his Twitter post and take a look at what everyone is saying right now. So let's scroll down and take a look. All right. Dion Kane says, you guys make side scrollers. You don't get to make lofty speeches. Those guys, even for all their faults, are attempting something bigger than walk right. Michelle Durage says, it isn't original anyway, just a mass marketed product for normies. What is original is the Stalker series made on a lower budget by a much better Ukrainian studio than what they could ever do in Poland. Whoa, shots fired. Irvis says, yesterday you had my respect. Today you just proved we can't state facts if they are inconvenient for others. Sad. Even if HD did a good job later, they screwed. CD Projekt Red, won't have that chance since they don't and can't acknowledge the real problem Cyberpunk has. Issa says, my opinion, you just regret saying it in that context is what your apology reads. As a game developer especially, you should know how complex making these games are. These companies make mistakes, but hey, maybe if you accept that you made one, you will learn like they clearly are now. So my opinion also on that is these companies aren't learning at all. Like, you can clearly see the pattern is still existing. Anthem released, Fallout released, so many games have launched and have failed. No Man's Sky, and these companies continue to know that there is a strategy they can use to get people to pre-order in masses and release the game in that way. And they think, for some reason that perhaps they can fix the game in time and that it won't be a big issue, that people will be understanding. And honestly, what I worry is that is on the side of developers offering up potential false promises of being able to fix the game rapidly after release. So that's another take on that. I'm curious to see if that is actually what has happened here. Hopefully we get more and more information about what has actually happened with Cyberpunk 2077 during its development. Now, let's go over your top comments. Remember, leave a comment down below. It could end up right here in a future video. So this was the most recent video. I actually posted this one today. It says, a new patch update that fixes a big problem, free DLC updates, and more. And I talk about how this new patch is a simple hot fix that fixes the security issue that the game had. So you no longer have to worry now about someone hacking into your game. So let's do this. Let's take a look at the top comments. Terrence says, we are all playing the early access. It's just the actual game coming out later this year, and it'll be on PS5, Xbox Series XX. Technocore says this, why would CD Projekt Red put an early access label when they've yet to acknowledge any content or features are missing? As far as CD Projekt Red is concerned, this is the game just with bugs. So at this point, I don't think they can acknowledge it as early access for legal reasons. They cannot backpedal because it would show up in a courtroom. Daniel says this, there is nothing in that game but a storyline and weapons and armor, nothing extra. It says, Dr. Potato says, I don't know, but it seems like they are getting lazy fixing their own game. Hotfixes getting fewer and fewer. Yeah, we'll see what February holds. They've been promising a lot of fixes and updates. I feel like this game was just made for PC BS. Yeah, we need the next gen update, you know. I've heard that it runs pretty good on PS5 and Xbox Series X, but we're supposed to get that big upgrade for PS5 and Xbox Series X down the road. Now let's keep going. It says, hopefully it helps with the frame rate drops that still happen. Phil Havoc says this. Yeah, you know, I had to go to modders to get help with my frame rate issues. They were pretty significant considering I'm running on like a very beefy machine. It's inexcusable. So yeah, once I installed some optimization mods, I was pretty much good to go. Second Price says this, think I watch your videos more than playing the actual game. It seems like a lot of you guys agree with that assessment. Maybe you're just waiting for the game to be fixed and you won't have to deal with any of these issues, and then you can finally sit and enjoy a proper Cyberpunk 2077 experience whenever that will happen. I will let you know when that happens, by the way. I'll keep you guys in the know. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Cyberpunk 2077 news updates, and I will see you next time. Take care.